Hey guys, my name is Julia and I'm one of your teen services librarians over at the main library on Goodwood. This month we have cracked, or at least we are hoping to, because we are delving into code making and breaking. Supplies that accompany this video are available at all 14 of our branches in a limited capacity. Likewise, in each of our kits, there's a challenge that puts together everything we talk about. If you can solve it, you will win something pretty neat. Before we get rolling, let me just tell you this video is going to be kind of a weird format. It's going to be me very briefly telling you about things and giving you quick examples. The amount of time it would take to go into depth on this is longer than anyone's attention span or my phone's storage capacity. So bear with me and let's learn about some codes. There's a whole lot of reasons why people choose to hide things. Protecting troop movements and wars, safeguarding financial information, protecting sensitive scientific research, keeping private chats with our friends private. There are tons of reasons people have chosen and continue to choose to encrypt their communications, and this has given us loads of ways to do it. So let's break down the major fields real quick. All right, you can either camouflage what you've written or you can encrypt it. If you choose to encrypt it, you can either scramble everything up or you can substitute other words, letters, or symbols for things in the original message. If you substitute letters, you've got a cipher. If you substitute words, you've got a code. Just to clear the air now, Cipher gets tacked onto a lot of names of things that are not ciphers. We didn't make the names, but just try not to let that confuse you. Think of steganography like camouflage or the Order of the Phoenix headquarters in Harry Potter. If people's eyes slide right over something hidden in plain sight, it's a pretty good way to ensure that they won't go poking at it too much and see what's actually there. One of the most common ways to do this is to use invisible ink. And there's a whole lot of ways to make invisible ink, but we are using UV ink. And the way it works is that it absorbs only ultraviolet light, not visible light. And so it appears invisible until you shine a black light on it. There's a lot of steganography that's more technical than this. However, it can also be as low tech as using the first letter in each word in a letter to spell out a hidden message. Imagine you're a spy. What is the least suspicious thing to have on you if you are arrested? A code book, a cipher wheel, or a common book like the Bible? Hopefully you chose the third one. And much like invisible ink, the Ottendorf cipher wants to hide something encrypted, but make it seem pretty normal. And the way we do that is by using a common key text. The way this works is that you agree on a common text with your partner, and it has to be something common. If you choose something like the Soviet writer Andrei Platonov's unfinished novel Happy Moscow, that's A, going to be very difficult for your partner to find the exact same edition and translation, and B, it's going to look very weird if you're carrying it around with you all the time. Once you do that, you agree on how you're going to encrypt your messages with that book. There are limitless ways to do that, but the one we're going to touch on is the Beale Papers method. In 1865, a series of 3 ciphers were published, and they claimed to provide directions to a treasure hoard. Ciphers 1 and 3 have never been deciphered, but Cipher 2 was. It used the Declaration of Independence as its key text, so if you number every word in the document, we're just going to start with the first line. And then you could use the first letter of each of the words as numbers and write your message entirely in numbers. So if we had this and we wanted to write the word sod, we would say 8, 4, 3. Pretend you've got a deck of cards. You draw one out and then you give the deck to your friend, and your friend's job is to figure out which card you drew. How do you keep them from doing this? Well, if you built some elaborate lockbox for your card and put it in, all your friend is going to do is lay out all the cards and figure out which one is missing. So what you do instead is you shuffle the deck and hand it back to your friend. And that's the essence of all transposition ciphers. You scramble everything up to keep someone from easily guessing what's there. And one of the most basic ways you can do this is a rail cipher. This is easier to show than tell, so bear with my bad handwriting. If we wanted to take the phrase "Go Tigers" and scramble it up with a rail cipher, we're gonna do, for this example, something 3 letters deep, and we're gonna write it in a zigzag. And then we're going to write the message across each line. So we're gonna get as our message. And if you want to break this, it's actually not that hard. You count out how many letters long a message is, and here it's 11, and you draw a box that is 11 columns long. And then we know that it's 3 is our depth for this, so we're going to give it 3 rows. And then you actually just mark out where the zigzag pattern would be. And then you start filling in the letters across. So G, X, E. And if you don't know the depth on it, you can just try it out with different rows. You can break this by brute force pretty quickly. Another way you can scramble a message is to use a Fleissner grill, and this method is super cool, but the catch is that you are limited in how long it can actually be. You need a grid that you can divide evenly into 4 sections, and we are going to use a grid that has 9 squares in each quadrant, and you start off by numbering across. Then you rotate it 90 degrees and do the same thing. And you just keep doing that. What you want to do next is you want to mark off the numbers 1 through 9 in here, and you want to mark them off only once. I would recommend not marking them all off in one quadrant because that's going to be awful for scrambling things. So we are just going to go ahead and mark ours out. All right, and you want to go ahead and cut that out or poke holes through them. And by the magic of cinema, we already have this, and this will be our key. So what you want to do next is you want to decide on a message, and we can only have something that is 36 letters long. If you use more numbers, bigger quadrants, you can do something longer. If you use something shorter, it can be shorter. So let's write out our message, and we want to write it out 9 letters at a time in 4 rows. This makes it much easier to see what we're doing. So let's use the Polish proverb, hidden from the eyes, out from the heart. You can see that this was only 32 letters long, so we've got some extra. You can literally just make up some letters and put it in there. So, all right, what you want to do next is you want to take your key and set it down, and then you want to go ahead and write from left to right and then top to down on it. And then you rotate it and do the same thing. You've got a big scrambled up message, and to decipher it, you just lay your key over it, and then you would record the numbers or the letters the same way while rotating until it all comes out. If you want to substitute one letter in the alphabet for another to write your message, you can do that. There is one problem though. Every language has letters that crop up more often than others. In English, those letters are E, S, and T. So if I scramble up my alphabet and write a message that way, it's not going to take someone long to break it. The decoder is going to look at it and say, that's an awful lot of H, P's, and N's, and he or she is going to start plugging things in, and the whole thing will unravel in about an hour, tops. The way we combat this is by using multiple cipher alphabets, and this practice is called polyalphabetic substitution. The more enciphered alphabets you use, the stronger it is. There's a whole lot of these polyalphabetic substitutions out there, but we're going to just touch on the first, the Alberti cipher. It's going to use 2 cipher alphabets that you switch back and forth between, and these alphabets can be whatever you want. These are just how I scramble them up. When you switch, you're going to capitalize the letter to let your partner know you're switching. So let's try this out. If we want to write the phrase, all roads lead to Rome, we're going to start with our first cipher alphabet, and we're going to say G, and then for the L, it's going to be N. And I don't really want them to see that I'm repeating letters because that's pretty clear what it's going to be. So we're going to switch to our second alphabet with a capital M. And that means we're in that alphabet now. So all roads and then lead, let's switch back to our first alphabet. And we can switch again. If you wanted to decipher this, you just work backwards. So you start pulling in that way and then switch whenever there's capital letters. If you have any questions about today's activity, holler at us. Our phone number is 231-3770, or you can comment on this video. Better yet, grab a kit and attempt our challenge. If you complete it, take a picture with your winnings and tag us on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see you next time.